Hello everyone, I'm Krasi Attasio, and this is my usual week for the 12 Ascendants where briefly I will tell you what is happening on the sky and how the sky stellar configurations are going to influence each of the 12 Ascendants. However, remember that everyone's horoscope is unique, and this is just indeed very general overview, just to give you indication what to expect from the week to come. The timestamps will be for each ascendant will be under this video. So a lot is happening this week indeed. First, we're having Uranus, who turned retrograde, will be retrograde until the beginning of January. I have separate video about Uranus retrograde, what Uranus will bring us being retrograde possibly. We're having this major trine which is happening on the sky between Saturn retrograde in Sidereal Sagittarius, Uranus retrograde in Sidereal Aries, and the Sun in Leo with the invisible Venus and with the invisible Mars. So it's a very fiery configuration, which is like overwhelming the sky, people's emotions. Like people will be overly emotional, most probably, in terms of just everything. The emotions will prevail, and this is exactly because of the Sun, and especially because of the invisible planets, Venus and Mercury, both personal planets and both in the sign of Leo together with the Sun, and they're trining this major. They are creating this major trine aspect now. Interestingly, also Jupiter is not retrograde anymore, which is blessing, which is good. Though Jupiter is a benefic planet, and his retrograde motion is not really that inauspicious. So we're having also, it's a lot happening on the sky. It's just difficult to see where to start from. Now we're having the visible Mercury. I spoke about the visibility of Mercury in Cancer, and the visible Mercury in Cancer is in Cancer. Mercury is peregrine. He doesn't have specific dignity and powers in Cancer. And in Cancer, again, he works a lot on the depths of the human minds, because this is the sign of Cancer. And he just passed through the nebula, the most stormy and deepest place in Cancer. And this is, of course, influencing people's emotions a lot, and most probably, especially if you have Cancer rising. And one of the fiery signs, which are so much emphasized now, you will feel these energies on the sky. But on mundane level, what is this bringing? On mundane level, certainly, you hear here and there, you hear protests, people that question the authority, the regime, the matrix. All this is because of this very complex stellar configuration, especially now when Jupiter is awake, being, well, not exactly awake, but not that slow and direct, and forming aspect with Mercury in Cancer. It is very much about people, the collective mind. It is very much about truth coming out. Like we'll discover things coming from the matrix, from the governments that we don't like, and the people will try to oppose this. And this is already fact because of this powerful fiery placement on the sky. Well, you can say this is typical for the time of the year, but even now, even though we hear about the fires, the forest fires, we hear this in the Balkan Eastern countries. You hear this overall because of these invisible planets and the fiery, powerful trine configuration which is happening on the sky. So the most interesting thing is about Jupiter, and it is about Uranus. Jupiter and Uranus now are not related by any aspect, but almost at the same time, when Jupiter became direct, Uranus became stationary and then retrograde. And this is very much about the collective knowledge, collective spirituality, collective religious systems, collective belief system, collective value system, because I explained in a separate video also that that Uranus is the god who rules the cosmos, the sky, and every motion Uranus does on the sky, because he's the ancient god Anu, he's ruling the cosmos. And Uranus is about the collective spiritual awareness. And being retrograde, he will insist us to learn or to awake and to go through knowledge and spiritual awareness that we missed in his past cycle, for example. So of course this is influencing the markets and the two retrograde planets, and Mercury visible in Cancer. Of course this is not positive for the markets, but we know this, and we heard about the recession being announced, and I've been saying this already since December. I think you can see my my prediction for the whole year of 2019, when all that is happening actually I mentioned. Now, yes, Jupiter direct, and people who have sidereal Scorpio will feel this for good. Jupiter direct start suddenly, not suddenly, gradually, actually, the things will start moving again back to normal. Also very emotionally and powerfully, people who have one of the fire signs, be it Leo, Sagittarius, Aries, will feel this movement and the powerful trine that is happening on the sky. If you have Leo rising, emotionally, you will feel the energy is very emotional, and also in your love life may be also emotionally powerfully influenced. Financially as well, you can go through different interesting, very intensive financial changes, let's say. Of course, everything depends on your personal horoscopes, because these are only very general details, but we don't look only at transits, we have to look at so many other stellar configurations. We look at primary directions, but in this case, this is just the general overview of the sky. Now, luckily also, because Jupiter is becoming direct, people who have Sagittarius ascendants and Saturn retrograde will also feel a little bit of relief, but we'll speak about this when I start with Aries and go sign by sign. So, see, Mercury is visible, still visible. Try to detect Mercury if you can on the eastern horizon before the sun rises, because Mercury is a morning star. But luckily, when Mercury is visible, and especially if you have Cancer rising or one of the water signs, Scorpio or Pisces, you can benefit from the visibility of Mercury through media work or starting media project. This is very beneficial. It's not perfect because Mercury is visible. With this, he's like symbolically born, but he's not in his own sign. He's peregrine. He's not particularly powerful, but his visibility is already power, because Mercury, we don't see that often. So especially if you have water sign rising or on midheaven, benefit from the visibility of Mercury in terms of teaching others, starting to study, sharing knowledge, doing media project, communicating your ideas or your knowledge with the others. So in this sense, a lot is happening on the sky. But once again, Mercury, who is so much related to markets, we expect once he becomes visible to influence the markets for good. But being in a water sign, people are still doubting and still the emotional, because everything, the consciousness of people, markets are related to this, and still Mercury is not influencing so much for good the markets. So this is just the general overview. Don't forget that Venus and Mars are still invisible. They're together right now. They're even together with the Sun in the heart of the Lion. So this is influencing exactly feelings, emotions, can make us go through very deep emotional state in terms of romantic life, love, just everything, because the two planets associated with love are invisible, and in the fiery sign of Scorpion, in the heart of the lion, which is the heart, the feelings, the love. Also, people who have heart complaints need to be careful during this period. So there is a lot to say always, but let's go now through the signs one by one. And as I said, it's an overview. You will hear, you will see the timestamps. If you like to study astrology with me, you can look at the links or just visit my website. So yes, so let's start with Aries. So Aries, sidereal Aries, with you, your ascendant ruler Mars is still invisible together with Venus in the sign of Leo, together with the Sun, and forming a trine with Saturn. And you have Uranus, who just turned retrograde on your ascendant. Uranus being as retrograde, and knowing that Uranus is about spiritual knowledge, connection with the spirit world, connection with the angelic world. It is very important that you remain very intuitive and very spiritual, really connected with the spirit world through spiritual practices, meditation, whatever your intuition leads you to. Because of the planets who form this major trine on the sky, and especially towards the end of the week, Venus and Mars will even be forming more exact the trine. It is so that you can become very emotional in terms of love. Also, you can have interesting and very emotional communication with your children. This particular placement can lead you to desire to do creative things, creative work, pleasures, and these are the high vibration of this trine aspect. If this is tempting you towards all other things which the fifth house is promising, like the fifth house is also about, gambling. It's not appropriate. Remain very spiritual, because Uranus being retrograde on your ascendant is testing you exactly for your connection with the spirit world. Uranus is very important. It is not being used by the sidereal astrology because there are no ancient texts which provide information about the existence of Uranus in the astrological text, but actually the Mesopotamians, the Babylonians knew about Uranus, so he remains important. So the week for you, also because the visible Mercury is on your fourth house, the week for you can be creative and interesting in terms of your work, career, very emotional in terms of your private life, can lead you to creative desires, artistic, and all these beautiful things. During this week, you may travel, you may negotiate, but remain and be always very intuitive. This is very important, especially when you're having the retrograde Uranus. It's not dangerous, but it is something which is making you reevaluate your spiritual and philosophical values and knowledge. It is for good. The more we are connected with the sky, the better the energies of Uranus being retrograde will impact us. So the week is not bad. Just you may communicate, you may travel, new beginnings may not be very appropriate, but still do your routine work using your intuition. All right, let's see now Ascendant Taurus. Now your ascendant ruler is invisible together with Mars, together with the Sun in Leo on your fourth house, and this is promising that a lot will be happening intensely at home, career-wise, with your parents. So that is where you need to be. It's a lot, and also quite emotional at home, and therefore you need to be very intuitive and very yes, exactly, intuitive when it comes to communication with superiors, but also at home. It is not bad. It just can be too intense, too emotional, a little bit too impulsive as well. The beautiful thing is that on your 7th house, Jupiter turned direct. So if you had any unsolved or slowed issues in relation to your private or romantic life, now they will slowly start coming into place. And this is very nice. You may travel, you may negotiate. The week is fine for this. New beginnings, no, because already the moon is waning. This week is not really very appropriate for new beginnings. Be intuitive at work, use your intuition, use your diplomatic skills when you desire to negotiate. In terms of spirituality, hidden desires for hidden knowledges and sciences, the week can give you for quite some time, for until January 2020, the opportunities to recheck, reevaluate the knowledge that you already have and the connection with the spirit world as well. All right, let's see now. Gemini, come on. Okay. For you, also, I see this week as better. Slowly things get better for you because Jupiter, who rules your 7th house, even though not directly in your 7th house, is turned direct, and with this will influence you for good. The week will be a bit better and easier than the weeks before, having for all this long period of time the retrograde Saturn and Pluto and Ketu on your 7th house. Of course, I know this is influencing you by direct opposition to your ascendant. This is influencing you, your relationships, your career, your job. But Jupiter will be helping now a little bit more. Also, you having for good the Sun, Venus, Mars, even though invisible, they are forming trine towards your descendant, sextile towards your ascendant. With this, they will be helping you a lot because they will be softening the influences of Saturn and Pluto that are retrograde on your descendant. With this, you will have relief in your private life, with your private relationship. So the week is better. Also with you, you may travel, but just be careful because it can be a bit too intense. Your spiritual life can also be a bit too intense because of this the placement of planets in your 3rd house. Financially, the week looks better, also a little bit better, and in terms of communication and negotiations, also better. So you may travel, and you may use the last days of the Mercury's visibility for traveling and for negotiations for good, but the week is not appropriate for new beginnings yet. So this was for you, finally, a better week for you. Now with you, I'm talking now about Cancer ascendant. With you, Mercury, also same like previous week. Mercury is on your ascendant. Mercury is still visible, and of course you will feel this through knowledge, receiving knowledge, desire to study, desire to share knowledge, to communicate, media work, travel. All this is like happening, or intense desires to do so are existing with this presence of the visible Mercury on your ascendant. So in any case, he's very communicative, very knowledge-based, being visible on your ascendant. On the other hand, the trine of Jupiter, who became direct and is influencing your ascendant, is also very positive. Can bring creative desires to do creative work, studies, knowledge. So Jupiter on your 5th house is wonderful. Can support your relationship with your children. Can support your love life for good. In terms of communication, travel, the week is also good. Financially is also better, but too intense, so be careful, use your intuition when it comes to making money and finances. So you may travel, you may use the last week of visibility of Mercury for good, exactly by studying or sharing your knowledge or negotiating or traveling, but the week is not very appropriate for new beginnings. This is important to say. For the rest, the week looks better, good to me. Now let's see, Leo rising. With you, interesting week because you already have since Saturday. You have the Sun on your ascendant, invisible Venus, and Mars on your ascendant. Right now, Sunday, Sunday 18th of August, all of them are conjoined around the sun, the heart of the lion. And of course, this is interesting, can be very emotional, can be very impulsive, can lead through to emotional experiences related to your personal life, to your love life, and it is not bad. The good thing is that Jupiter became direct on your fourth house, and this is supportive towards your home, also relationship with superiors at work. So this is better for your career, also for money, also for creative work, because Mercury visible is creating harmonious aspect. But still, let's not forget that Saturn is remaining like with Pluto, with Ketu in your fifth house. And I keep repeating up until January, this will be valid, January 2020, that you need to be cautious and attentive towards your children. Surround them, with prayers and light, so that you're on the safe side up until Saturn moves away from your fifth house. For the rest, financially, the week is also better. You have better luck when it comes to finances and also private life, work, career. The week looks better, but keep in mind to be careful when it comes to safety of children. For the rest, yes, having all these planets on your ascendant, it is quite supportive, and also the direct the direct motion of Jupiter is very, very positive and will influence your work in your home for good. Now, the retrograde Uranus on your ninth house is especially influencing your knowledge, your spiritual awareness, your relation with the spirit world. So work on this, reevaluate your spiritual values, your connection with the spirit world. Do spiritual practices even more than before, and this will result in very, very good spiritual connection and knowledge and spiritual qualities that you may obtain during this phase of Uranus, who will be retrograde up until January 2020. So the week is fine, not good for new beginnings, but for communication, for travel, it's okay. Okay, let's see now Virgo ascendant. Now with you, this week up until the end of the week, your ascendant ruler, I'm talking about Virgo rising, Virgo ascendant, so up until the end of the week, Mercury will remain visible and will be forming a harmonious aspect to your ascendant, and this is wonderful in terms of knowledge, communication, negotiation, sharing knowledge, financial benefits. It is quite okay. Now, in terms of travel, it is also good, but keep in mind that Mercury is already preparing to become invisible. So this week is the last that you can really, really benefit from his communication and eloquence qualities and media opportunities and travel opportunities for good. This is until the end of the week. Now, in terms of spiritual work, knowledge, the week is also wonderful. You may travel. New beginnings are not very appropriate this week. Financially, the week is okay. Some challenges you may experience at home and at work, like they are both connected, as you can imagine. In terms of spirituality and travel, yes, Jupiter became direct on your third house, so this is very, very beneficial, and he's trine in your seventh house, and this is also good for your private life. So the week is good, except be careful and intuitive for your work, and also don't forget that it's not the most appropriate week for new beginnings. Let's see now, Libra rising. With you, Your ascendant ruler, Venus, with Mars, both invisible, with the Sun, are on your 11th house, and this is fine because they are forming harmonious aspect towards your ascendant. So this is good, but they are also aspecting direct Jupiter on your second house, and this is good because this is fine for your finances, for the social circle, for the people around you. Now, still don't forget that Venus is invisible and she's ruling your ascendant. She's very, very important. And together with Mars and the Sun in the heart of the Lion, this is very much very emotional, can be very, very emotional for you, for your friendships, for your romantic life, can create opportunities, different and very intense a lot in terms of your plans and finances, especially now when Jupiter turned direct. You can meet new opportunities this week, but don't forget that the week is not appropriate for new beginnings. In terms of communication and career, now Mercury will be also this week visible on your 10th house, where he's influencing your career. And this is fine, but don't forget that this is his last week of visibility. In 6-7 days, we will not be able to see Mercury anymore on the eastern horizon. So use this week for communication. Use your intuition because you still may be a little bit too impulsive, but this week you may communicate with superior if you want to achieve something. Now, in terms of travel, be a little bit careful, but still financially, career-wise, the week looks better than the week before. The week looks fine for me. No new beginnings. Travel you may cautiously, and the week is also better for your private life, for your relationship, but keep in mind that it may be a little bit too intense, too impulsive, too emotional. So keep in mind this so that you can communicate and obtain desired results, especially when it comes to your private life and communication related to your career and communication with superiors. So no new beginnings are advisable, but you may communicate and you may travel. Okay, so this was about Libra ascendant. Let's see now Scorpio ascendant. Scorpio ascendant. Now for you, already in the beginning I said that the week is interesting for you because of Jupiter who turned direct on your ascendant. And this is important. The things will start moving back to normal. And also on your midheaven, 10th house, maybe not midheaven, but depends on your location. But on your 10th house, you have the Sun, you have Venus, you have Mars. Two planets, Mars and Venus, are invisible. This is good for your career and can be supportive in terms of career and communication with superiors, but still it can create surprises, hidden things because of the specific placement of the planets. So be intuitive, but in any case, the period is not bad. But when you use your intuition, when you're very open to and awake towards the things that you need to sense and that you will not directly see, but when you're very intuitive, you may have very successful week in terms of achievements and communications at work. Now, Mercury on your 9th house is visible for last week, then he turns invisible, hides in the rays of the sun next week, so you can still benefit from the knowledge, the communication skills, the travel opportunities, studying opportunities, sharing knowledge opportunities that Mercury is giving you, media opportunities. So the week is good for this. It is not good for new beginnings, but can create opportunities and very intense events happening at your work. You may be able to benefit from them only if you're very intuitive and if you understand that the things are not the way they look like, and there is a lot behind the scene. Once you're very intuitive and open-minded and awake, you have a very good week. In terms of finances, well, still Saturn is on your 2nd house and retrograde, but the direct motion of Jupiter will be helpful and will create better financial opportunities. Also, Mercury, the visibility of Mercury is also very positive. This is a week which is also better for your private life, for your relationship. Things will be also improved there if they need improvement. But all depends on your personal chart. So this week looks better. Yes, of course, it is very usual because of this direct motion of Jupiter. And as I explained, at work, be careful and very awake and very diplomatic, and you're going to have a successful week. So this was about Scorpio ascending. Let's see now Sagittarius ascendant, and we are having still, of course, we know Saturn, Pluto, Ketu retrograde on your ascendant, but the good thing is that your ascendant ruler finally turned direct, and this is Jupiter who is direct, and this is better and will give you some relief. Also, the relief will come from the Sun and the invisible Venus and Mars on your 9th house. They are trying in your ascendant. So this is also relief in terms of communication and even possible gains. Just the things will start slowly getting better. Still have some patience. Yes, some patience is still needed up until Saturn really moves away from your ascendant. But the week is better, especially because your ascendant ruler is direct. If you have these melancholic feelings, remember, I keep repeating this, but it's very important that you be connected with the spirit world and with the nature. And Uranus turned retrograde on your 5th house to bring you back towards knowledge, creative capabilities, artistic capabilities, and also to make you re-establish or re-evaluate your connection with the spirit world. This is very important so that you pass through this period very easily with the retrograde Uranus. Now Uranus on your 5th house, I don't see as dangerous at all, but I see him as desiring for you to re-evaluate your connection with the spirit world, because you know Uranus is Anu, he's ruling the cosmos, he's ruling the spirit world. The week is fine, not brilliant for communication, but is better for negotiations as well. You can make use from the last week of the visibility of Mercury through communication, media work, studies, sharing your knowledge. New beginnings are not appropriate during this week. All right, this was for Sagittarius ascendant, and let's see now Capricorn rising. Now, for you, the Jupiter turned direct on your 11th house and is forming harmonious aspect to your ascendant. This is positive in terms of gains, friendship, so this will play a positive role. Now, also for your gains, financially, this will be better. Well, yes, Saturn, your ascendant ruler, is in the 12th house. Well, you should feel better emotionally this week. You should feel, because the ruler of your 12th house turned direct, but still, if you feel some melancholic emotions, don't forget to connect with the nature, with the spirit world. Mercury is still visible on your 7th house, and this is good for communication, for solving unsolved issues, if any, with partnerships, with your romantic partner. So this is okay. So the week is good for, it's fine to travel, to communicate. It's not good for new beginnings. And yeah, I see this as a better week in terms of gains, finances, relationship with friends, and the things will start moving slowly. So this was for Ascendant Capricorn. Let's see now Aquarius. Now for you, Jupiter is creating better opportunities and movement in your career in relation to your plans. Also in terms of money and gains, the week looks a little bit better to me, because the ruler of your 11th house, became direct, and this is very, very important. You have this week the Sun, Venus, and Mars. Venus and Mars, two invisible planets on your 7th house of your relationship. And this is important because this can make your private life very intense, very emotional, very deep. Keep this in mind and benefit for good. Enjoy it instead of feeling too impulsive and too emotional. Could be something very good, could bring depth into your private life, into your emotional life. Mercury is still visible this week in your 6th house. This is good for communicating with subordinates. This is also can create good career opportunities. So the week is good for your career, also better for your finances, a bit too emotional in your private life. You may travel, you may negotiate, but the week is not appropriate for new beginnings. This was about Aquarius. And now let's see Pisces. Pisces. Now your ascendant ruler is trining your ascendant for good, but this time direct. And this is good. This is already creating some movement, opportunities, better for your plans, better for your travel, better for your studies, better for your communication, for your work. So in any sense, this is better, and you will feel better also financially, most probably. Now, let's not forget that you're still a little bit limited career-wise because of Saturn on your 10th house, where he's still limiting you, and he can be creating some obstacles and limitations when it comes to career or communication with superiors. But Jupiter is now very helpful, so the things slowly are moving. Also, the trine aspect of all these planets, the Sun, the invisible Venus and Mars, on your 6th house, can be better and can be supportive in terms of career and communication with subordinates. The week may be good for creative studies, for creative abilities, for artistic stuff, communication with children, improvement of communication with children if needed. During this week, you may travel, you may negotiate, make use of the last week of the visibility of Mercury as a morning star. And the week is very spiritual, very nice. With this direct Jupiter, you may really be rewarded with some knowledge or spiritual experiences, but the week is not appropriate for new beginnings. Yes, this was important to tell you. So with this, I'm completing my overview of the week. Again, this is general. If you like personally to be looked at your chart with detail and with future predictions, you may contact me personally, and my contacts will be under this video. Thank you for your attention. Your comments are welcome.